But before I start, I'm going to honor him by doing what he would do. He hated ties, and I'll do the same. Jinx is a very unique man, as most of you know. He lived life with a great passion. The amazing thing is that he became a part of this church, because when he first visited here, Don Chapman and I took him out to Lost Creek Golf Course that Sunday afternoon to play golf. And I warned him at the very beginning. I said, I can bring anybody's game down to my level. Typical Jinx. Oh, you can't do that. Well, we played Lost Creek. He played the fairways. I played the rough. And about the 10th or 15th hole, I can't remember which, his game did deteriorate some. And I always joked with him, it was 10 years after that before we ever played another game of golf together. And he always, of course, denied that, but there were other circumstances, I'm sure, as to why we didn't play. However, I suspect I had the privilege of playing one of the last games that he ever played when we were out in April down near Conroe. And he confided in me after we finished playing that he hadn't played in 6 weeks. But the competitiveness in him would not let us stop until we'd played 18 full holes. And I know he suffered through it, several of them, not only watching me play, but also physically. But we made the whole 18 holes. And to tell you what a gracious man Mr. Hoover was, we could go to the golf course. His goal was to beat par and play well. I had simple goals. I wanted to finish the round with all the clubs I started with. And later I raised my sights a little bit to try to minimize my loss of inventory and balls. But we got along well on the golf course. But how gracious he was, he could watch me hit 3 balls in the water and hit the 4th one over. And with all sincerity, tell me, what a great shot. And with no sarcasm whatsoever. Jinx was a very gracious man, and he lived life with a great deal of passion. And my wife and I had the privilege of traveling all over the world with Jinx and Gloria, and some of the greatest times we've ever had. And I only remember one time where he really let me down. We were traveling in southern Germany, headed toward, I believe, Austria. And our domestic supervisors wanted to go visit the Swarovski plant. And as Jinx and I drove along, sitting in the front seat, I said, Jinx, this is Saturday afternoon. Surely they will be closed. He said, well, we'll kind of dawdle along until 5 o'clock, and we know they'll be closed. And guess what happened? We pulled up at exactly 5 o'clock, and they were open till 6. So he let me down that time, and I never let him forget that. But Jinx, I could go on with more and more stories, but we've spent a lot of time competing. I never beat him in blackjack. I never beat him in gin. I could beat him in 42 every now and then because I like to irritate my opponents and I can break their concentration. But let me tell you about him being my Christian brother. He ministered, as has been pointed out, no matter where he went. And I think my memory serves me correct. The picture of the chalet is Peter and Esther's. We had the privilege, because of Jinx's personality, he never met a stranger. And we went over to Switzerland and we stayed in a little hotel and met a couple. And the hotel managements invited us to one of their parties. And this couple said, we're renovating a house or a chalet for rent. And Jinx and Gloria were the first ones to rent this chalet. Now, later on, we were able to join them at this chalet, which was a beautiful view of the lake in Switzerland. But the reason I want to tell you that story is that this couple, due to Jinx and Gloria, I believe's influence, became devout Christians. And in fact, when I contacted them about Jinx's passing, it confirmed again their service to the Lord. And so he ministered no matter where he went. And his passion for people. We were fishing in the Rogue River in Oregon, and he heard that Bobby Dorr lived up the river a little ways. Called him up, and of course they talked baseball, which was the universal language to them. The next thing you know, we were at Bobby Dorr's house, listening to Jinx and Bobby exchange baseball stories. And it was amazing to me, instant connection. And we left there with autographed baseballs and pictures and everything else. And this was characteristic of no matter where we went, whether it was Australia, New Zealand, anywhere. People from all of those places, as was pointed out, loved Jinx. And I could go on with a lot more story, but I just want to tell you that I believe Jinx, it epitomizes one of my verses that guides me. It's Matthew 5:16. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father, which is in heaven. Jinx, I want to say the last words I said to you, and I want to say again, I love you, man.